Jeff, ready?
Yes, sir.
Nick, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
Freshly picked and ready for consumption. Here comes another round of the Radishcast.
Another Radishcast coming in for you. I'm your fearless commissioner and sad loser, Mike Fisher. Along with me, just like every time, I'm my co-host Nick Spill Stoll, and Jeff, always start your backups, Gregory. Let's turn some rumors.
Got his ass.
It's never been more obvious when someone has texted me, "Who do I start?" that you wanted me to say one thing, and then when we said the opposite thing, you were like, "Are you sure?" Until we said, "Just start Kenyon Drake."
I never gave in to it, Jeff.
I went back
Your
and
heart
forth probably
betrays
about
you.
100 times on that too, and I was just like,
Well,
you win some and you lose some.
you lose a lot when you do that.
Well,
Oh.
oh shit.
Anyway, it was a fun first week. A little less so for me and Jeff, maybe, but no, it was all right. I was also racking my brain nonstop of how I could get somebody to outscore Lamar Jackson by 10 points, and I had hope, but it alas did not happen. Let me take a quick look. This week's not as maybe fun and interesting, but the weekly money winner, we'll make a point to highlight him on the show. So this week was highest scoring kicker, which was Stank. Yay!
Oh, cool. Jumped the gun a little bit.
Stank was very excited. Rightfully so. I mean, it's
Yay.
with the higher buy-in, it's a decent chunk of money. So
Yeah, and stealing away from Cooley too. That always has to feel good.
yeah,
What is
Cooley
the
wasn't even-
weekly? What did he get
Cooley
that
wasn't even
first
close,
week?
I know, but
yeah. What is the payout, Jeff?
Yeah.
I think it's $45.
Oh, nice.
what? I didn't know it was that much.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
25 last year, but we bumped it up with the increased buy-in fee. So
Yeah.
Look at that! Congratulations,
Like I said,
Stinky.
it ain't nothing. So
It's beer drinking money, baby.
yeah.
Mhm.
But so throughout the show, we won't go into it right now, but throughout the show, I do want you guys to call out your prediction for the money week this week, which is the smallest margin of victory. So as we get through the matchups, if you think that one is going to be your call, go ahead and throw it out there. It's going to be an interesting one because we have a lot of blowouts this week
blowouts.
predicted. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But before we do that, let's take a look at last week.
This here's the Radish Recap.
All right, our first recap is the Archduke Fish and Coach Mike Fisher taking on Grizzly Adams and Coach Alex Cooley. I was a 10-point favorite in this one. Jeff, as the only one to get this right, I'll let you have first crack. What'd you see?
Yeah, had to roll with the champ. He had finished strong and started strong here. So, Mike, after that Thursday night game, you rolled out there with Brady, and he put up a pretty good score for you. And then Evans, not so much, but I still wasn't sitting too pretty with that prediction. But Cooley's wide receivers, similar to last year, just consistently outperformed. So, you look at the matchups across the boards, other than Callaway, he won every single wide receiver matchup, and his numbers are pretty good. He had 3 guys over that 20-point threshold, and Lamar didn't have the greatest of games, but he did enough to hold you off with that 9-point favorite coming in. So it's just a solid week for Cooley and the champs.
Yeah, for sure. And as obviously I was sitting there every score that happened, every time I saw one of my guys get a catch, I'm double checking the score and where's it at. And really, it seemed to get away from me early when Cooley had a couple of guys get big touchdowns kind of all at once, get their second touchdowns. It felt like Devonta Smith got a touchdown early and then kind of faded out a little bit. Still had a solid game. But when you look at like Deebo Samuel, I played against Deebo Samuel in every league I'm in, and he just went nuts. Corey Davis getting the absolute garbage time touchdown. Good job, Nick.
Let's go! That might be my first one right, boys.
I think it is. I think we can fact check it.
Probably, yeah.
Fact check, please.
Yeah, Travis Kelce going basically 3 quarters super modest and then getting 2 touchdowns late. You know, it was one of those things. You know, my guys didn't score many touchdowns. You know, I'm happy that George Kittle ended with 78 yards. You know, it's a good game, but you know, he's got 10 points because there was no touchdown in there. So, Nick, what else you see in this one?
Yeah, I mean, you see Evans that on Thursday night, the first game, that's tough. I don't think going forward you have to worry about Evans only getting 3.9 points. I think how many targets do you have? Like 4 or 5 maybe? Nothing in the red zone.
Yeah, he had 3 catches, and I think he had 3 targets that he didn't catch. 2 of them were tipped just barely. I mean, they were right to him. That was probably another 30 yards easily that you know a defender gets a fingernail on and he can't make the catch. So that I agree with you there.
That and then the Henry Arizona. Oh my gosh, did they look good? That defense looked damn good too.
Arizona's defense,
so,
they got down early too and kind of got Henry out of the game and all that.
Yeah.
So
the game script kind of flipped. It is crazy. 128 from Cooley, and Barkley only had 3.2 on 10 carries, something like that. So I mean, there's room for him to get even better. Can you expect Deebo to get 27 every game? I don't know. Ayuk had 0. I think he had 30% snaps in the first half. I think he's in the doghouse a little bit. So I don't know if he gets out of the doghouse, how that target share breaks down. Good game by Cools.
Yeah, for sure.
All-star, baby.
Yeah, we'll get into Ayuk a little bit later. I will say that, you know, I don't feel so bad about it because I still put up 118. You know, I think my team had a bad week and I put up 118, and I'm overall pretty content with that. So this is as close to a moral victory as I'm willing to take. So moving on to our next matchup, we got Old Man Joe and Coach Joe Thomas taking on Jay's Juggernauts and Coach Jeff Gregory. So Old Man Joe was the 2-point favorite in this one, and Jeff, you got this one right by you know just squeaking it out, making it a 1-point game.
Right.
Nick,
that's what I was going for.
I give this one to you. You know, we kind of touched at the top of the show about the Jacobs conundrum, but what else do you see here?
Yeah, that Jacobs conundrum. We won't even have to touch on that again because we busted his balls so much at the beginning. It hurts, but looking down, he got Ridley with only 7.6. God, did Atlanta look terrible. Goodness. And then now McLaurin without Fitzpatrick there, that's a little scary too. I think Atlanta can't play that bad next week or going forward. It was just awful. So I wouldn't feel too worried about that. Yeah. There's going to be a few games they do play that bad, though, because it's freaking Atlanta. But, I mean, Old Man Joe, we talked about it earlier. Ayuk with 0 points and still held you off. So, tough week for Jeffy.
Yeah, having to start Tevin Coleman, we kind of knew was going to hurt you. But, yeah, it's weird. Calvin Ridley, drive 1, had like 3 or 4 catches. You know, he was looking good. You're like, oh, man, this is exactly what you expect. You know, the offense might not be great, but he's going to just get, you know, hyper-targeted. And then it just fell apart. You know, they just weren't able to find him again, and that really kind of submarined his day. So, Darnell Mooney, you know, that was a tough choice. I know you were considering Mike Williams. You want to talk to that at all, Jeff?
Yeah, so the whole offseason you hear Mooney and how he's the number 2 guy, just going to be a target monster. So I was pretty excited going into that game. I thought Ramsey, you know, he doesn't typically travel with their number 1, but I figured he would be on Robinson more and mostly that whole entire game. So I figured, you know, why not throw Mooney in there, see what he's doing, see if he can't get, you know, 10 targets, 7 or 8 catches for 80 yards and maybe sneak in a touchdown or something. But, you know, the Mike Williams pick, he's always had the talent. He just never consistently does it. So I wasn't quite sure what week 1 was going to look like. But, you know, I'm pretty excited how many targets he got, and in the red zone he had a couple options. So, going forward, I think I'm gonna roll with him probably this week unless something changes. So
yeah, that's I guess the bright side. You got your decision moving forward. So yeah, and on Joe's side of the ball, right? I think Sanders and Montgomery looked better than I expected them to. Ayuk we talked about, and who knows what's going to happen with him going forward. But the rest of his team was just kind of average, so I think he got the benefit of a couple bad calls by you. But we'll see if that's able to continue. We'll see if Ayuk comes out of that, and if those backs continue to look as good as they did. So we'll jump on to our next one. So that's the LSU Mud Dogs and coaches Troy Hecht and Joe Harper taking on Lick McCaff and Medak and Coach Jordan Chartier. Lick McCaff was the 9-point favorite. None of us had any hope that the Mud Dogs were going to pull this off, and we were wrong. So the Mud Dogs taking the win. Not a good off season by any of our standards, but maybe he's just from the future and he just knows exactly what's going to go. So. I will say I don't think DJ Chark's, one long touchdown to save the day. I don't know that that's prescriptive of, him being good going forward. But, it was good here. Emmanuel Sanders I like going forward, but, really outside of that and then the obvious players on his team, the Mixon and the Mahomes, there's still not a whole ton to be super excited about. Logan Thomas had a fine day, turned out to be a fine flex. But Jeff, I'm gonna throw this to you first. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think this is more the story of like Jordan's team just didn't really perform in a couple key positions. So you look at like Sutton and you look at Aaron Jones, he didn't get anything from those guys. You look over on Troy's side, Conley, Sanders, he'll probably do a little bit better. Pitts, that Atlanta game in general, there just wasn't much bright or goodness coming out of that. So, I think Troy's got some nice players. I think if we were to pick this game over and over again, I would be confident going with Jordan a lot of the time. So, I'm not too upset with the pick, but I do think better days for Jordan is coming, and that Brandon Cooks, he had a solid week for him, so that was a good bright side for him.
Dude, come on. I'm playing Jordan this week. Better days are not ahead.
Maybe after this week.
0-2?
Jordan?
Oh, my God.
Nick, in regards to this game, I know we had some discussion earlier about where this would go, but I'm going to give it to you right now.
Nick's bum of the week.
Spare any change, sir? No, off!
So my bum of the week is the entire Packers offense. They look terrible. We were texting Mike in that group chat about it, and even in our Slack group, it looks like a team that the quarterback just wasn't there all offseason. It doesn't look good. We'll see going forward. I mean, they're lucky to play the Lions next week, but McCaff and Dak really saw the brunt of it with Aaron Jones and Tunyon both combined getting 5 points. It really impacted them a decent amount. So we'll see how he looks going forward, but they were the bum of the week this week. So
yeah, and I think it'll be interesting. We always have these perceptions all off season, right, of which teams are going to be great, what defenses are going to be good. But we might find out in 2 or 3 weeks that New Orleans just has a really good defense. They might come out and stymie a couple teams, and we're like, oh, maybe obviously there was some rust there for the Packers, but it'll be really curious to see that shake out. I know New Orleans has Carolina this upcoming week, so if they're able to hold all the weapons that Carolina has in check. It'll maybe start to paint that picture of, were the Packers that bad, or did New Orleans just come out and play amazing? So that'll be curious for me at least. So we'll move on to the next one.
Before we move on, you think that performance by Kirk is sustainable? You think he's going to finally have a good year where he's going to be able to be in Troy's lineup?
I don't think so personally. I think Christian Kirk. I think he'll have a couple more games like this throughout the course of the season, but I don't think that you're going to be happy with him every week. I mean, don't get me wrong, Arizona's offense is fantastic, but are you confident that they're going to be putting up 38 points every week? I'm just not. I just don't think that that's a realistic, sustainable, pace. Kyler Murray's fantastic, but 5 touchdowns a week is asking a lot.
Game over.
What do you think? Kirk or Green? Who would you rather start on a week-to-week basis?
I'd rather start Kirk. I think AJ Green is going to do
too.
just enough to be annoying. I saw he got one red end zone target. I didn't watch all of the games, so I can't say on the rest of it. But I think that's kind of going to be what he is. He's a big-bodied receiver. He's athletic. I think they're going to use him in those areas, but I don't think he's ever going to do enough that you're going to be pumped to start him on a week. Whereas Christian Kirk, I can still see getting 5 targets or 5 catches a lot of games, but I just don't think they're going to be high-value ones. But moving on to our next game, the Taint Ticklers and Coach Nick Stoll taking on Ball is Life and Coach John Lamers. Nick came into this one as the 12-point favorite, and I was the only one that got this wrong. But in my defense, John, with the last-second start of Gallup over Jamar Chase, that was he turned what was a 2-point game into a 15-point game. So it's funny because he also messaged me and said, should I do this? Like right before the Thursday night game. He said, do I start Gallup just so I have somebody to cheer for in this Thursday night game? And I was like, probably not. But then he was like, I'm going to do it. So,
no one actually wants advice, Mike. They just want you to agree with what they're thinking.
Everybody just wants confirmation bias. I mean, I wasn't so confident as to say like, no, that's going to be a terrible call. I would say I was more confident about the Jacobs call, but I don't think I would have had the balls to bench him for the third receiver on Dallas. But
Gallup looked good though. Before his injury, he looked pretty solid. I mean, that was a good performance until he got hurt. But
Jeff, why don't I toss this one to you first? What are you seeing with Nick and John's matchup?
Yeah, just looking at John, he put up 103 points. You touched on it. He switches out Gallup for Chase. It's a whole different story. But he didn't really have anyone on his team besides, if you want to say Stafford and Henderson are the 2 highest scorers, but everyone else was pretty consistent. Even Metcalf with 14 points. I think that's probably going to be around his average. I think he can do a lot better than that. So, but you look over at Nick's side, Kamara probably is going to do better than he did, and he still got you 16.6 points. That's a pretty good week. But no one really stood out too crazy on your team, Nick. Russell was cooking this week, so maybe. I think it was just a consistent win, and I think you're pretty set with 118 points for this week and happy walking away with a win.
Yeah, that 118 puts you right about the 4th, 5th highest scoring team on the week. So, upper half, but I think that your team has a lot of upside that maybe didn't show out. Probably the biggest takeaway for me from this game is John walking away with, Gallup and Judy both going on to IR. Yeah. That's really going to hurt him, especially after trading away Antonio Brown. We'll obviously get into it in his matchup, but he's going to have some tough sledding at that wide receiver 3 spot coming up here. Yeah, Nick, absolutely. What else in this one?
A little scary. I mean, if Judy doesn't go down or Gallup doesn't go down, or if he starts Chase, if Judy doesn't go down and gets one more catch, I might have lost this game. So looking at it, you got Keenan Allen with 100 yards on 9 receptions, no touchdown. Allen Robinson, that did not look good. I think I looked at his route trees, his route breakdown. It was all right next to the line, all terrible. Yeah. It scares me going forward, that offense, to see if the Red Rocket can make something happen. I mean, I thought he was quarterback proof, and it seemed to be that this is the best quarterback he's played with so far. So we'll see. Galladay. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, no, I was going to say it was a tough matchup for Robinson, I will say. I mean,
Ramsey didn't shade him, but yeah.
No, but the Rams' defensive line is so good that all those passes had to come out quick. You saw it in the route tree. They never tried to send him deep, but that might have been just by design going into the game saying, hey, we know we got to get the ball out of his hands quick. Because, I saw that same thing you're talking about, that everything was, within 6 yards of the line of scrimmage. It's like you didn't even give him a chance to make a play.
Well, exactly. I thought it was funny, too, that a lot of the reports and stuff are like, we can't play Fields. The Rams defense would just hurt them and break through it. And they're like, we'll throw Dalton out there. So it's like, that's pretty consistent. Just
punching back.
Get the ball out quick and short routes.
Yeah.
It'll be really curious to see how long before Fields ends up taking over that job, because everybody expects it to come, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course. Then the last point, Galladay. I mean, I guess Sterling Shepard is the stud there. I don't know. At least last week he was. So
as soon
we'll
as you
see
start
going
Sterling
forward.
Shepard, it'll be Galladay, and then as soon as you go back to Galladay, it'll be Shepard.
And you know I'm starting him next week. So
Throw both of them in there.
Then when you start both of them, Darius Slayton gets 2 touchdowns.
can you imagine starting 2 Giants receivers? Good.
Can you imagine
God,
starting 2
it's
Giants?
disgusting.
Yeah.
Just 2 Giants at all? Gross.
No, I can't.
All right, moving on to our next matchup. Cobra Kai and Coach Kyle Stankowski taking on Benny and the Jets and Coach Ben Stelzer. Jets came in as the 4-point favorite. Nick had no faith in Cobra Kai. Jeff and I did, so we got the call there. Stankowski taking the win. Nick, I'm going to toss it to you first. You got it wrong. What went wrong for you?
Well, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is not going to make up that 43 points, but having 1.3 points doesn't help the line that much. Looking at it, Thielen balled out. It was a pretty good game for him. 2 touchdowns. I don't think Jefferson even came close to that either. What did Jefferson end with? You guys know off the top of your head?
I want to say like
14 maybe. Yeah,
he only had like 9 points.
Yeah,
he only had 9.
Let me look.
Yeah,
we'll get to it in our next matchup, but
Hawkinson looked like a freaking stud, and I think the Lions will be down a lot. So if he's going to be that target hog, what's the target share? 97 yards, a touchdown, a 2-point conversion on 8 receptions. I'm curious. He had 10 targets. That could be pretty good. He traded away Kittle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that might work. That might have worked out well. And then when traded Zeke, and he just knew. He just knew.
Just knew.
So.
Yeah, I'm curious because, Robbie Anderson 1 catch on the day, but it's a 57-yard touchdown. That's not something that's necessarily going to happen every week. I thought Jarvis Landry looked really good in that Cleveland game. From what I saw, they used him quite a bit.
No doubt.
So we'll see. That was going to be my point. We'll see what happens when Odell comes back, if he's able to maintain any of that. I know at least Odell's out for week 2. So
True.
But on Benny's side, the guys you kind of expected, Diggs was fine, Lockett was good, Cook was good, Kupp was good, but then beyond that, he just, his team really didn't show up. Kareem Hunt was fine, but, Rodgers getting 1 point, Gesicki that he traded a first-round pick for, getting nothing. That hurts. So, yeah, I don't know, probably Ben's only other option was he was maybe thinking of throwing Russell Gage in there, but that would have been a bad choice too, right? He got goosed. So the bright spot maybe for Benny is, I think, on his bench. From what I saw from that Arizona game, I thought James Conner looked really good, actually. I thought, he looked like he looked a couple years ago, not like the guy we were watching last year that looked just awful. So I think, not that I'm saying James Conner is going to break Benny's lineup every week, but, I think he at least looks like he's got something left. So, all right, moving on to our last matchup, the Aaron Rodgers football team and Coach Tony Fisher taking on I Am Left-Handed and Coach Kyle Monroe. Jeff was a little suspect about the 13-point line there. He didn't think that was quite enough to go with the lefties,
right.
But a 95-point win will change your mind on that. So,
Good
170 to 75, the highest scoring team on the week versus the lowest scoring team on the week. Jeff, why don't I throw it to you first? What you see?
Just an absolute blowout. Kind of ridiculous, 95 points. I don't know if we've had a blowout that much. Is that the biggest one we've had so far? I can't remember from last year, but
Troy just raked John last year, but I don't think it was quite 95.
95.
Oh,
good Lord.
you look at. I think we're going to see a lot of this. Honestly, I think Monroe's team, as if they're healthy, they're going to be putting up just monster points like this, and. Tony going with Mostert instead of Swift. I can't blame that decision, but, he got hurt and it didn't pay out. He just didn't really have anyone that played really well. Allen didn't have a good game against the Steelers necessarily. And then Andrews, I thought, was going to be a lot better. He finished it with 20 yards and 3 receptions, so 3.5 points. It's just one of those matchups where I don't really think there was much Tony could have done anyways with Monroe putting that many points up. So it's just kind of sucks. It sucks. You just had a bad week, got to move on, and now it's week 2.
For sure. And I Monroe's not going to put up 170 points a week, right? In our entire league,
God, I hope not.
In our entire league, I think that happened about 5 times last year, maybe 6 that someone put up over 160. So I don't think that he's going to, break the entire game. Darren Waller's not going to get 19 targets a game. That's just not sustainable at all. But lo and I mean, don't get me wrong. Putting up 140 points versus 170, right? That's whoa, big drop off. But no, he hit all of his ceilings this week, right? Kyler had 5 touchdowns. The only one that didn't was Zeke. Julio didn't have a good game, but I don't know that Julio's going to have the same games we're used to seeing out of Julio. I think he's he's just not going to have that same ceiling he had. He can be better than this week for sure. Nick, what about you? Anything else on Tony's side?
Nothing much on Tony's side. He couldn't do anything to combat that. Everyone fucking hit. Like, everyone hit their ceilings pretty much. Except for Elliott, but that would have been over 200 game there. Everyone just hit for Kyle this week. Tony had no options. He just wasn't going to get it done, and no one would get it done. That 170, that's ridiculous. Just take the L and move on, really.
Although, Mike, there is one point we do want to bring up about Tony, so
give it to you.
Yep, let's hit it.
Jeff's worst coach of the week.
Although we mentioned it quite a bit that you're going against Monroe, Tony, and there's not much you can really do. I mean, you look at this, you put up 75 points, and the next closest is 100 points, so you're 25 points lower than that. I mean, that's not gonna get it done, and unfortunately you're the worst coach of the week. So, like we said, let's move on. Go to week 2. Hopefully, better days ahead for you.
and of course, Tony can't. Jeff can't pick himself for the worst coach of the week. That wouldn't have flied for starting.
Yeah, Jeff, you were actually probably the worst coach because you actually made decisions that fucked you.
Tony made a decision too. I mean, Swift over Mostert, that was a bad decision. Let's see there. Let me pick some.
It would have made it. What a freaking.
Yeah, it would have been a 70-point game instead.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't start off week 1 with me.
That's true. You control it. It's your world. We're just listening.
It's true. We can only give suggestions. So, one last note is looking at the scores from last year. Only 4 teams put up a game of over 160 points. So that was Kyle last year had a game over 160. Troy, Nick, and myself were the only ones with a game over 160 last year. Who do you think had the highest scoring game all last year?
Wasn't it Troy? I thought I remember
Nick.
Troy going off.
It was Nick in what would have been the championship week, but you weren't actually playing anybody.
Because he had Kamara, right?
Nick
was
put up.
Was that 5 touchdown?
Yeah, Nick put up 175 in week 16 last year, what would have been the championship game, but he obviously wasn't even close to that. So,
Kamara getting 50 points, and Kamara had like 50 that game. It was like that. He had 5 touchdowns.
Insane, but I just thought that was interesting. I was looking and seeing where that game stacked up against some of the best. So Nick had the top one, and then Monroe had a 170. So I don't know if this one was slightly above or slightly below, but either way, Monroe's got the second highest scoring game now. So after this week, Jeff sitting in the lead at 4-2 on the pick calls. Me and Nick sitting at 2-4, a little bit down below him. So not a great week. This week I think is going to be a tough one as well. So why don't we get into it?
Dive on into the Husky League matchups.
The Husky League matchups, taking a look at what's going on this week. So we got the SCLSU Mud Dogs and coaches Troy Hecht and Joe Harper taking on Grizzly Adams and coach Alex Cooley. Grizzly coming in as the 12-point favorite. Jeff, why don't I give it to you first? What are you seeing here?
12 points. I am still going to be a believer for the champ in the Grizzly Adams. So I'm going to go with them. Last week Mixon had what worries me is Mixon and Mahomes on Troy's team. So, they put up a lot of good numbers last week. I think we're going to see that again with the addition of Fuller coming into his lineup and Kirk, Chark. Those are guys that if they hit, they can put up 30 points or, high 20 points. And, but I just really, really like Cooley's team and his wide receivers. They had a good week 1. I'm thinking it's going to carry over into week 2. I don't love the Corey Davis versus the New England matchup, but I think he is the alpha out there, and he's going to just be that goal line or red zone target. Maybe Samuel until Ayuk gets out of the doghouse is going to be, a really good play. And Kelsey is always Kelsey and is always open for some reason. So I'm gonna roll with the champ.
That doesn't make any sense.
Unreal.
He's not crazy fast or athletic. He's just like always wide open. It doesn't make any sense to me. I look at this one and it's tough. Lamar just doesn't do well against Kansas City. He never really has. That's more of a narrative type thing, but at a certain point it becomes a trend, right? They got his number. I got to go with Cooley on this one. There's definitely some plays I don't like. His running back room is, if you told me is Cooley's running back room going to score more or less points than they did last week, I don't know if I would say more, and that's less than 10 points. So, but it's
they only scored
still,
10 points total.
A little more than that.
Corey Davis Mike Davis had 6 something, and Saquon had 3 something. So if it was more than that, it was 10.3.
Did my running back room score more than that? Let me check.
Yeah, Kenyon Drake almost had 10 for you.
Yeah, look at that.
By himself. Look at you,
Not
Jeff.
the worst running back room. I like it.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
But even despite all that, I just think that, Cooley's just so much better in the flex and in his starting receivers. I think it's wise of him. He's got Marquez Callaway pushed to the bench for Deontay Johnson. I think that's a good call. And so I think that pushes Cooley over the top of that mark. Nick, where are you at?
I'm taking he doesn't cover this. We talked a lot of smack about Troy. He can see the future for some reason. So I'm going with that. I don't know if he's going to win the game, but I think it'll be closer than 12 points. Patty Mahomes is still going to be Patty Mahomes. We'll see that Will Fuller. I don't know how impactful he's going to be coming back right now. We'll test the theory about Kirk. See how he does too. I think it'll be closer than 11 or 12 points.
Yeah, and so this is our first opportunity. We're busting out new start-sit decisions this week. So letting anybody submit their start-sit decisions. Cooley sent one in, and he was asking who he should play as his running back too. I think Cooley's pretty locked into having Mike Davis in there, which I think is a smart call. They seem to use him a lot. But that running back 2 spot, Barkley, Nyheim Hines, and James White. So James White going up against the Jets, Nyheim Hines going up against the Rams, and then Saquon going up against Washington. I have a firm belief on this, so I'm gonna give it to one of you guys first, so I don't just start talking away. Jeff, if you were Cooley, where are you going with this one? Jeff, known for his good running back takes.
Oh yeah,
this one. So Barkley's banged up, right? He's coming back.
Yeah.
He should be almost full go. You're hoping. You didn't get a lot last week. And now he's going on a short week Thursday night against Washington. So that's tough. Let me see. You said someone's going against the Jets.
James White against the Jets and Nyheim Hines against the Rams.
So, White is just going to get a bunch of targets. The Jets are terrible. So that's good. I'm just trying to think out loud here. And then Hines, he's just always there, just signed a 3-year extension. But I'm gonna roll with all that. I'm gonna go with Barkley. I don't see how If he's healthy and he's out there, I would feel comfortable rolling with Barkley, even though it's a very, very difficult matchup.
I think Barkley falls into the same advice I gave you, Jeff, is that, and this is exactly what I told you, right? If you start Jacobs and Kenyon Drake scores more, you're going to be pissed at yourself. Or you're not going to be pissed because you started the guy you should start. But if you start Drake and Jacob scores more, you're going to be like, why did I try to get cute? What was I doing? So that's the sanity move, right? Is you start the chalky guys, you start the guys you should start. And that's the chalky move that leaves you not feeling as bad if you get it wrong. Nick, are you pretty firm on your belief in this?
I'm not super firm, but I think I'm not starting. I'm going to start Hines or White over Barkley. I'm going to get a little cute here. Barkley hurt, short week. He's questionable designation. He only got 10 carries last week. We got Hines that had 9 attempts last week and 8 targets and 6 receptions. And then White had, I think, 8 targets, 7 receptions, 4 rushing yards. Game script wise, I'm a toss-up between those two. I think I might go Hines. I think I'm going to take Hines here.
Yeah.
And so I'm right with you in the fact that if this is my lineup, Barkley's not seeing that lineup.
Yep.
I don't know what they are going to do with him yet. And Jeff, all the points you brought up, the short week going up against Washington, the one situation where I play Barkley right here is if I'm playing, no offense to Troy and Joe's team, but if I'm playing a team like Monroe where I need a ceiling, then I probably play Barkley. I play Barkley and I hope that they put him to what he was last year. This is where they draw the line and they say, okay, you're all out. That's the situation. But honestly, the only way you lose this matchup is probably if you get a couple too many floor plays. And I think Barkley has the ability to floor play. I don't think Nyheim Hines or James White are going to come out and have, be a total floor 3-point. I'm playing James White. I'm playing James White against the Jets. I think Mac Jones looked good enough last week. And I think that this early in the year, even if they go up big on the Jets, they're not going to take their foot off the gas because they need to get Mac Jones as many real-life scenarios as they can. So I don't think Bill Belichick's going to say, we're up, let's just run it and whatever. He's going to say, okay, let's start to get you moving out of the pocket. Let's get some quick dump-offs. Let's work on your timing because he needs as many real-life reps as he can get before they start playing the Buffaloes and the other teams that they got to run into this year. So I play James White in this situation. I think Hines is just as good of a call. Carson Wentz targeted the running backs a lot, both him and Jonathan Taylor. I don't think you can go wrong with either of them. I'm not starting Saquon.
I had White starting until that last little, just right before, because I was looking at that target breakdown or rushing percent breakdown. 9 attempts is 9 attempts. So
yeah.
In comparison to 10 from Barkley.
Yeah. So moving on to our next one. So we got I am left-handed and Coach Kyle Monroe taking on Jay's Juggernauts and Coach Jeff Gregory. Usually this line would be shocking, but coming off a 95-point win, maybe the 34-point line isn't as weird. But yeah, lefties are a 35-point favorite in this one. Nick, can you possibly take the 35-point line?
I'm going to fucking take it, baby. Let's roll with it. 34, that's ridiculous. But I'm going to take it. His team looked so good last week. Yes, all the ceilings hit. But looking at the matchups, I don't really mind it too much. Hopkins against Minnesota. I think Waller, I don't think he's going to drop off target-wise. I think it's going to be close to that 15 mark still. And maybe as a season, 19 targets. And just throwing him the ball when he's covered, just chucking it up to him. We'll see, though. I think it's going to continue on until someone steps up, whether that be Ruggs or Brian Edwards later in the season. But I think he's going to be freaking targeted for the first quarter of the season at 15 target mark. And Zeke is going to have a better game, too. So 34, I know, Jeff, it's a lot. But I think you're going to get your ass kicked.
Yeah, it's an absurd line, and coming into this, before I sit down and I look at the matchups and I look at the players, I'm like, Yeah, I'm not taking that line, right? You know, Jeff put up 108 this week with a couple right calls. Jeff was at, you know, going to be 120, 125. Like, that's a solid week. That means Monroe's got to score 150, 160 to outpace him on a 34-point line. But Nick Chubb going against Houston, ugh. Kyler and DeAndre going against Minnesota, ugh. It's not easy. But I gotta take Jeff. I don't think Monroe quite covers it. 34 is still just a little too much. It was close for me. It was real close. But I'll take Jeff. I don't think 34 is doable. Well, it's doable. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, I look at this one too, and you know, you hate to say you don't have a chance, but I don't really think I have a chance this week. So, but I'm going to take myself. 34 points is too, just from a personal standpoint, that's just too high for me to root against myself. So I'm going to go with myself. I'm hoping Cooper kind of, you know, re-ups and does the same thing, maybe, you know, close to it. I think Ridley's going to be better than last week. I think McLaurin on Thursday night with a new quarterback in there, they're just going to pepper him, and I'm hoping he has a better week. My big concern really is the health of Jacobs right now. You know, you saw how many times he limped off or was hurt, you know, so he ended up getting in the end zone 2 times, which is good. I think I realize now that he's the goal line back, which was good to see early on, but just on the other side, you got Hill, Hopkins, Lamb, Waller. It's just like,
oh my God,
good luck. So,
yep. Nick, we got to start decision in this one, but before we do, I got this for you.
Nick's garbage time all-star.
I'm the trash man. I come out, I throw trash all over the ring, and then I start eating garbage.
I love that drop.
I love that drop. It is awesome. Not that it even matters, because he won't even start him or anything like that. But I got Tyrod Taylor scoring a garbage touchdown against Cleveland. Cleveland's favored by 12.5 points. Yeah, we'll see. I think that's a pretty solid one. Let's go 2-0, baby.
Yep, and we talked before the show that it has to be a touchdown. There's no yardage mark for garbage time for quarterbacks.
Exactly. It has to be a touchdown.
This is the most classic Nick move ever, picking a quarterback that isn't going to play in the game. That's the garbage.
I'm looking at lines here, and I'm going to try and get a situation. It's hard to pick a garbage time boy.
Yeah. All right.
You hit.
And I'm not going to pick receiver-wise with Houston. I'm not sold on any of them either to be like that alpha like I was with the Jets. So.
Well, we got to start sit to question in this one, but it feels more like a flex than a question. So
Dick.
Monroe writes in of who he should start in his flex: Julio, Damian Harris, or Chase Edmonds.
Okay, we get it.
Honestly, I wouldn't be thrilled about any of these guys. Again, I got my firm view. I'll start us out. I'm starting Damian Harris.
Yep.
You know, that's pretty cut and dry for me. You guys are both nodding. You guys agree?
Yeah,
that's 23 carries. 23 carries last game. We got a rookie quarterback. I don't know if that game's gonna be super close either. So,
they're going against the Jets this week too.
That's what I'm saying.
I think it's gonna be handed off. You know, he's gonna get his points, and they're gonna be up pretty big. So, Harris is the call for me.
Totally agree. You know, I'd almost go so far as to say there's not many weeks where I'm starting Chase Edmonds at all, because otherwise, you know, he's just too exposed to that Arizona offense, right? If he starts Edmonds, he's just starting to cap his upside. Julio will probably work his way back into that discussion as the year goes on. But at this point, seeing what I saw last week, I want to give Julio a week or two in Tennessee, see how that shakes out before I'd have a lot of confidence. So Damian Harris just seems like the safe play.
And he doesn't really need any like high ceiling play in his flex looking at all the other guys. So it really doesn't 100%. Matter. But
all right, do I even have a chance to win this?
No.
I you know what, Jeff? I gave you a 18% chance.
18.
CBS says 28%.
Ooh.
Oh, really?
You can hang your
That's
hat
how
on
low
that.
it is? Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Yeah, no, that's about what I'm giving you. I think there's obviously a world where anybody can win any game, but
Right.
all right,
Not
moving
this
on to our
one.
next one. So we got Archduke Fish and Coach Mike Fisher taking on Lick McCaff Medak and Coach Jordan Chartier. The tightest line of the week at 11 points.
Baby.
The Archduke is favored. So I don't remember whose turn it is, but Nick, I'm going to throw this one to you first. What you seeing?
I think you will not cover this one. Look, my McCaff and Dak. We'll see with the, like we talked about earlier, Green Bay going against the Lions. That always fixes all your problems. So I'm assuming Jones is going to have a hell of a game. That entire offense will. Sutton, tough game last week. I think at 1.9 or something like that. Judy being down. But they're going against Jacksonville, so there's a little upside there. McCaffrey, we talked about the Saints defense. We'll see if that holds true, but I think McCaffrey's unstoppable. I think you'll still win this game, Mike, but I think it will be one of the closer ones.
Is it close enough to be your prediction for the smallest margin of victory? No. Okay,
No.
I assumed you forgot. So, Jeff, what about you? Where are you seeing? Where are you leaning here?
I'm also leaning with Jordan. So I really liked what I saw with that Dallas offense. They're going against the Chargers. I think there's going to be just whoever has the ball last and just to throw it out and air it out and see how it goes on both sides. You know, Mike, you got Taylor against the Rams. Rams have a good defense. That's a tough matchup. Henry versus the Hawks. You know, I'm not sure how the Hawks are this year with their run defense, but historically they're pretty good at stopping the run. I think Henry does bounce back a little bit there, but just another tough matchup. So I think Jones, Nick, you mentioned going against Detroit. I think that Green Bay offense gets back on track. You know, maybe I'm just a fan of it and I'm hoping for it, but I think he bounces back and gets involved a lot more. So I think he keeps it close. I don't think he wins, but I think he breaks this 11-point margin. So rolling with Jordo.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pick myself. You know, when I started marking my way down the lineup, I'm like, ooh, Dak against the Chargers, he'll probably have a decent game. McCaffrey against New Orleans, you know, it doesn't really matter who he's playing. Aaron Jones against Detroit, oh no, right? You know, I'm starting to not feel so great about myself. But, you know, Claypool against Vegas, even, that's a good matchup. There's just, you know, no telling that Claypool's going to get enough to do much there.
Sure.
But then when I start looking at the bottom and I look at Cortland Sutton, he just didn't look like himself last week in a game when he probably should have had more targets than he did. So that's telling to me, right? That he's not getting those. That's telling that maybe his recovery is coming a little slower than expected. Denver's got a solid defense. I don't know how well Marvin Jones is going to be able to carve out a big game there. Brandon Cooks against Cleveland, I'm happy going against that matchup. You know, Brandon Cooks had a great game last week, but it was only because he just went up in one contested balls. I don't think that Tyrod's going to throw nearly as well against this Cleveland defense. So, you know, it was an okay feeling. You know, I wasn't super thrilled about some of those matchups. But then I happened to look at my side, and I saw Tom Brady and Mike Evans going up against Atlanta, and that kind of put my mind at ease a little bit. So, you know, I think those two are going to be great. You know, we just saw David Montgomery carve up that Rams defense. Is that because Chicago is this amazing running team? I don't think so. So maybe they're a little more susceptible against the run than we expected. So I think I got the guys in place to get it done here. So I'm rolling with me. Nothing else on this game. I am going to ask you guys real quick. Little personal start-sit decision. So curious to hear what you guys have to say. Not even on the show doc. This is off the dome. But I got Tyson Williams in the flex right now. Do I start Antonio Brown in the flex along with Mike Evans and Tom Brady against a juicy matchup in Atlanta? Or is that just too much of one offense, right? That's my concern, right? I think Antonio Brown's probably the better play, but it's just a lot of one offense.
Oh, yeah, that is tough. And, I mean, it's going to come down to, do they get high enough up that it doesn't even matter? Are they going to stop playing these guys? I think I might go Brown. You saw they started to give Murray the ball more. That's after 3 days. They signed him 3 days ago. He played, and I think he got almost the same amount of attempts.
Yeah.
Didn't he? How many attempts did Latavius get?
So yeah, they both had about 10. Tyson played about 51% of snaps. Latavius played about 30%. Really, when I'm my breakdown of that game, right? And correct me if I'm being biased here, but I thought Tyson had burst that Murray didn't have. Right? He looked like a better runner to me. And when you saw Latavius Murray in the most was the last 3-4 drives of the game. And I think a big part of that is just the fact that Tyson's a rookie who is asked to pass block, and he's not a very good pass blocker. Right. I mean, that's just absolutely what it is, right? He can't pick up a blitz the same way Latavius Murray can. So that's I think
Kansas City, though.
And it was a tight enough game. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm like right. If I was, I wouldn't be asking this question if I thought Tyson was a guaranteed locked and loaded. But I do think he's still going to be 50% of the snaps, and I think he's going to get the majority of the valuable rushes. I just think maybe late in the game is where they say, all right, we need the vet in here. We need somebody that's going to be able to pick up those blitzes a little better.
Who is Tyson the pass catching back in that offense?
He had 4 catches, so
that's one thing we got to consider too. Is they're going against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs always put up good numbers. So if they start getting down, I don't really see Murray as a guy that comes out of the backfield and catches. So
he was in there for passing downs for that per pass blocking though. Like Mike said, it could be he could get some receiving work.
So he might get a little bit there. I do agree with you. Tyson looked really explosive. He looked good last week. So, I wouldn't be scared to play him in your flex spot like that. Brown, did you ever consider Brown over Evans though, Mike? Or are you going to stick and run with Evans? Okay.
Good. Maybe, if I see it for 6 weeks straight or something, then maybe I consider that. But no, everybody who freaks out about Evans after 1 week clearly has never owned Mike Evans. So
exactly. That's what I was hoping you would say. But I don't think I would roll with Brown. I think there's too much on that game. And so if they get up early and they want to try to run the ball, then that's really going to hurt you. So
that's the problem is all of a sudden you see can't even remember his name right now,
Jones and Fournette in there.
You see Jones bust out a 90-yard run, and you're like, come on,
exactly.
No.
So
in the first quarter,
I'm probably sticking Tyson. I don't think I have it in me to put so many chips in one basket, but that's tough. So, all right, moving on to our next one. We got Benny and the Jets and Coach Ben Stelzer taking on Ball is Life and Coach John Lamer. Benny and the Jets, the 19-point favorites in this
19.
one. Man, John, I want to like your team. I really do. Like I really do. I want to. No, honestly, if John hadn't lost those 2 receivers, I'd be rolling that way. If he had a third wide receiver to play, I'd probably re-rolling with John in this one. I'm not even convinced that I won't. So why don't I give it to Nick, you first, and maybe you can sway me one way or the other.
This was a tough one for me too. 19 is tough. 15, I'd easily go with the Jets. 19, a little tougher. He's got Hardman in there right now. I'm saying Benny's going to cover that. I mean, you got Hunt against Houston. We'll see what Cook does against Arizona with that Arizona defense looking pretty decent. I think, once again, he's one of those guys where it doesn't really matter, just like McCaffrey. Not quite like McCaffrey, but closer to. Diggs had a down game last week. They're going against decent Miami defense at Miami. So, but Kupp looked freaking good, and they have a connection, Stafford and him.
Yeah, they do.
As a Woods owner, how do you feel about that, Mike?
I think you saw this a lot last year as a Woods owner too, is that some games for the Rams were just Kupp games and he'd get 12, 15 targets, and then some games were just Woods games. So I think more of it falls onto Sean McVay and his game plan going into weeks than specifically Matt Stafford's connection with those guys. I think they go in with a plan of like, all right, this is, we think we can exploit the short game a little more, so let's pepper Kupp nice and short, get them a lot of balls, try to maybe beat a double move over the top. And then, some other games, they just feel like they got the advantage with Woods. So that's, again, having owned Woods for the last couple of years and watching games, that seems to be what, my evaluation on it. But, 2 more games, I could be feeling totally different if all of a sudden Cup's just the absolute monster in target share there.
Right.
Jeff, what about you? Where are you dropping in this one?
Yeah, this is a tough one for me. I think I'm in the camp too of you, Mike, where you really want to like John's team and hope that everything hits. And I think I'm going to roll with that. I think the 19 points is just a little too high for me, especially with what I saw last week on Ben's team. There's a couple question marks. I think Rogers bounced back. I think Gesicki, obviously, if he's going to have a better game than last week. But I think there's room for Metcalf. Chase looked really good. Edwards-Helaire looked good. Harris had, he played 100% of the offensive snaps. So say he does that again and he gets in the end zone this time, he's going to have a pretty good score. So I think that this is I'm going to call it. This is going to be the closest game. And I think I'm going to roll with John here. So this is my pick.
I really wanted to make this one my closest game, but it got edged out by a different one for me. I'm gonna go John. I changed my mind twice while you guys were talking. Actually, looking at Benny's side, I think this is going to be a ceiling type game for Benny with Rodgers and Cook against Arizona, Kareem Hunt against Houston. I think he's got some really nice matchups. I think this could be a ceiling game for Benny. But I'm happy enough with John's players that 19 is just a bit too rich for my take. So John had a start-sit question for us, so curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Bryan Edwards or Mecole Hardman? Nick, this is your turn to go first. What you thinking?
I think I'm doing Bryan Edwards, and maybe it's because I owned him for a little bit and I want him to do well. Actually, I don't know how well I want him to do being on my rival's team, but Hardman, I just don't think he's going to get the target shares, and at least Edwards. I think Edwards has a higher ceiling, and I think that's where you have to play it. Maybe not if Hardman gets a deep ball, but I still think I'm going Edwards for that. I think he's going to have more points. I think he's a better receiver too. So,
would you feel that same way if the Monday night game had not gone to overtime? Because we would have watched him get one target in that entire game before overtime.
That's true.
One target or one catch. I don't remember, but like I said, I watched that whole game and I was like, man, Bryan Edwards and Henry Ruggs kind of suck. And then overtime and the end of the game happened, and Ruggs had a couple nice catches, and Edwards had a couple nice catches, the one he almost scored a touchdown on, and suddenly you leave feeling totally different. But if that game doesn't go to overtime, I don't know how happy you are with owning either of those players.
Are you unhappy enough to start Hardman though?
No, I'm starting Edwards in this situation. I think only I just wanted to play a little devil's advocate. Hardman, you are hoping he catches that one touchdown, that one bomb. That's what you're hoping for. Edwards, there's still a non-zero chance that he becomes the number one receiver in that offense, right? It could be him, it could be Ruggs. It's probably Hunter Renfrow, but there's still a non-zero. There's a non-zero chance that when in games where 19 targets don't go to Darren Waller, that Edwards is able to get a couple more and does something reasonable. I'm starting Edwards in this situation. Jeff, where are you at?
So you think about it, you look at it, he's got 36% chances of winning. So right off the bat, he's in the negative. So he needs some guys and some plays to hit for him. So I hear what you guys are saying. I don't mind having Hardman in there. They're going against the Ravens. I could see this being a very high-scoring game. It's prime time. It's Sunday night. All eyes are going to be on it. And for some reason, the Chiefs just play. I mean, they play good every week, but on those primetime games like this against the Ravens, I think you're going to see a lot of points, and I think Hardman's going to catch and get more involved than he did last week. So in an effort to beat Benny, I think you need some help here, and I think I'd rather take the riskier play in Hardman than Edwards. And Mike, to your point, if that overtime game doesn't happen and Edwards, we walk into this one, it's a no-brainer for me to start Hardman. The only question is I did like to see what Edmonds did at the end there. So, but I'm still going to roll with Hardman on that start-sit question.
it's one of those situations where I think you can't go wrong because they're both kind of bad options.
That's so true.
All right, moving on to our next matchup. Got a couple left to get through here. We got the Taint Ticklers and Coach Nick Stoll taking on Cobra Kai and Coach Kyle Stankowski. Ticklers are a 14-point favorite in this one. When I look at this, I saw Melvin Gordon didn't get started last week. That would have just added insult to injury and been a little better for Stank. I see now he's got Melvin Gordon and Jamal Williams in that starting lineup. Devontae Adams going to have a way better week than he had last week. I'm taking Stank. I'm taking Stank. I think Stank's gonna keep this one tight. This is gonna be my bet for the closest margin of victory. What do you mean? This means you win money.
I know. That's my pick though too, you bastard.
Oh well, then I'll go to my second place one, which is the next one. But no, I'm taking this as my closest game. But I'm taking Stank to cover this. Jeff, how about you?
I am also taking Stank. I like his team a lot. Nick, don't take that the wrong way. I think you win this game, but I think it's going to be 14 points is a lot. And what I saw from Stank's team last week, putting up 140, and he still had people that could have helped that. I like his matchups too. Going against Green Bay. Williams going against Green Bay. I mean, he was a lot more involved in that first week than I thought he was going to be in that Lions offense. So that's nice. Baker against the Texans. You can't ask for anything better than that. Gordon against the Jaguars. It's like, come on, you're just eating. And then obviously Adams against the Lions as well. So there's a lot to like there. And, not even just switch over to your side, Nick. It's not like you have bad matchups necessarily. It looks like you switched Shepard in there, so you're rolling with the week one hot hand. But I just think 14 points is too high for me, so I'm gonna roll with Stank and Mike. If you want to hit it, part of the reason that I'm doing that is a player on Stank's team that I like.
Jeff's keep on cooking.
Who wants some man meat?
I do. I want some man meat.
So my keep on cooking player of the week is Adam Thielen. He had a hell of a game last week, and I don't see why he wouldn't repeat that. So I'm rolling with Thielen. He's going against the Cardinals. They like to air it out. I think the Vikings are going to have to score a lot of points, and I think that what I saw from Thielen last week is he looks sharp, he's healthy, and he's an end zone, red zone, just hog. So
before we hand it back to you, Nick, I'm about to crawfish real hard on this.
What?
If you guys remember some crawfishing from last year, Cooley, I'm taking a step back. Oh, I'm going with Nick.
What?
As you were talking, Jeff, I just looked through the matchups one more time of who Nick has playing. Russell Wilson against Tennessee, who Arizona just absolutely lit up. Alvin Kamara against Carolina, who is a butt defense. Like, there is some nice matchups in here. Keenan Allen against Dallas in a shootout. Chris Godwin against Atlanta. We talked about that. I'm going Nick. These are juicy matchups. I don't think I gave quite enough credit to how juicy these were. So I'm switching. I'm also retracting my closest game. I'm going.
Oh,
wow, big
change. Double crawfish.
Nick, how about you?
This is my closest game, as I said earlier. I think we both have some juicy matchups. I think it's going to be a pretty high-scoring game for both of us. I mean, Jamal Williams had 9 targets, too, in the last game. How many points did he score? Like 20? 21 last week. Thielen just keep cooking, like you said. Devontae's going to back on track. Hawkinson being a stud against that Green Bay defense, too. Tim Patrick caught a touchdown. I don't remember what the targets were for that, but I think Stank's going to keep it close. I'm of course still picking me to win it, but
but Stank to cover.
But it's going to be a close game. It's going to be.
I don't know why. I don't know if I love that Tim Patrick flex play, but looking at his bench,
I love the Tim Patrick flex play.
Do you?
Yeah.
You mean wide receiver 1 for Denver, Tim Patrick?
I think so.
Technically, I guess.
I think Sutton's that guy, and so
Sutton had 1 catch last week. Let's see, how many did Patrick have? Patrick had 4 targets, 4 catches.
Do you not start I don't know. I probably shouldn't say anything, but how can you not start Mitchell?
Mitchell or Robinson even. I mean, I know Robinson had a bad week, but I don't know.
Tough.
He might
defense,
switch
rough
that.
defense. I mean, I'd
I
probably
can
start Mitchell. I don't want him to do that, but
I could see the case for Robinson if in any lineup, any team that I have Mitchell, I'm not playing him this week.
really,
So
why so?
so here's my feeling on it. Everybody is down on Trey Sermon because he was inactive for the game. I think that we're going to find out that was a little overblown. Elijah Mitchell and JaMychal Hasty both play special teams. Trey Sermon doesn't. Yeah. So I don't think that Trey Sermon is just the fifth best running back on that team. I think for real football, they wanted special teams guys there because Trey Sermon was going to take a lot of the carries. I think now Trey Sermon, or not Trey Sermon, sorry, Raheem Mostert. He was going to take most of the carries. They didn't need Trey Sermon. I think now Trey Sermon's going to be back active, and I think he's going to be more of a factor than people want to give credit for. Everybody wants to say, well, he was buried on the depth chart. He was inactive. I don't think that's really the case. So I'd want to see it out of Kyle Shanahan for more than 1 week.
Right.
They didn't have a game plan. He walked in, Mostert got hurt, and they said, okay, well, it's got to be you. You are all we have, right? We've seen this time and time again from San Francisco. I wouldn't believe it on 1 week. I'd want to see it for a couple before I decided to start him over good options. Over options like Melvin Gordon and Jamal Williams. I think those are both better plays for this week.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But the flex play, I don't know. Seeing as it progresses, I think that backfield will shift. But not being on the starting lineup, not the active roster, to me signifies he wasn't going to take carries away from Mostert. Is it going to still be a split coming in until like week 5 or something like that?
Right.
And I tend to think that a little bit more. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's totally possible. I'm just, given good options. I like Tim Patrick. Maybe that's part of my thing this week is that I like Tim Patrick this week. But yeah, that's where I land on it. But all right, let's hop into our last matchup. Old Man Joe and Coach Joe Thomas taking on Aaron Rodgers' football team and Coach Tony Fisher. The Aaron Rodgers football team, a 15-point favorite in this one, despite being the worst coach of the week last week.
Got his ass.
Nick, I'll toss this one to you first. What you got?
Ooh, I am back and forth on this line. It is a little high for me. I think I'm going to say, I have it written down Tony covers, but I think I'm actually going to go with Joe on this one. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than seen. Those two running backs, pretty decent matchups, really. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, Chenault against Denver, I don't absolutely love it, but you think A.J. Brown will have a better week this week too. I think it'll be a pretty close game. As it's stated, I think it's the projection is with Mostert in there.
Yeah.
Not Swift. But yeah, I'm gonna take Joe to get within that 15 points. I don't know if he's gonna win it, but I think Tony will still win it.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I got him within that 15 points. I think probably the biggest benefactor of the Judy injury is actually going to be Noah Fant. I think he's probably going to get the most of a bump from that. That's probably one of my biggest things. Tony's lineup is actually solid and solid from top to bottom. I think some people might be sleeping on him after just getting hog-tied week 1, but I think he's I think he's going to be in a good spot. I think Tony's taking the win, but I'm going to make this my closest game of the week. I got Joe covering here. Jeff, how about you?
No, I'm right with you guys. I liked what I saw from Joe. I think Moore, Brown, Chenault, those guys are going to have good weeks. Montgomery. And there's nothing on Tony's side that I dislike a lot. I just don't. If there's any negative, it's probably his wide receiver room, and I'd like to just see those guys do better than they did last week, So
True.
Until I see that, it's going to be, I just think the point spread is too much, 15. So I agree. I think Tony wins, but I think Joe keeps it close, and he's inside that mark. So nothing.
How do you think that Parker play is going to go with Fuller being back?
Where was it? Yeah, I think the Parker play is not actually going to happen. If I'm Tony, I'm putting Jalen Waddle in there.
True.
That's my opinion on it. That's the Miami receiver I would rather have of the two of them. So I don't think it's really going to be a factor. I wouldn't love playing Parker this week personally.
Yeah.
No.
So Joe had a start-sit question for us. So he's full-on tilting after getting a goose egg from Brandon Ayuk. Not even starting. So he's got the question, is he crazy? Is Brandon Ayuk or Javonte Williams? I again have a firm belief on this one. I think we're all going to be right in the same spot, though. I'm going to throw it to you first, Jeff.
Oh, you think?
I'm going Williams. I am going Williams against the Jaguars. I think they get up big, and then it's kind of that game script where they want to see what they got out of this rookie, and they just hand it off to him, and he performs. He got a lot of carries last week. I can't remember the exact number. 14 was it? So,
yeah.
That's more than I thought he was going to have, and to do that as a rookie right from the start, it's a good sign. So, that's the way I would lean if I'm Joe, and that's what he currently has in. So, nothing too more than that.
Nick, how about you?
Yeah, same boat. 14 carries is enough for me to be sold on that, especially Ayuk goose egg. If you read the reports or read the little blurbs about Ayuk, it doesn't look great. It's like he's got to outperform. He has to be way better than – I don't even know who that next receiver is. But
Sherfield, Trent Sherfield, yeah. Reading the reports and so I actually went and I didn't listen to the press conference, but I read the transcript from the press conference with Shanahan on this one, and kind of reading between the lines and how coaches talk about players. To me, this just screams, I know I have a player that should be on the field. But this guy is just, he's doing something that I can't take him off the field for, right? Trent Sherfield is just playing so well, doing everything they ask for, that Shanahan's just saying, like, I'm not taking him off the field because he's doing everything the right way. And that's something I'm going to have to see Ayuk overcome for a couple weeks before I trust him. I think Joe got lucky here. I think Joe got lucky that Ayuk put up a goose egg, because I think if Ayuk had 2 catches for 20 yards, he'd probably still start him. He'd probably say, well, it's one more week, whatever. He'll be fine. He'll catch on. And it'd be 2 or 3 weeks of underperforming before he was really like, man, he's not going to get back there right away. Not to say that he won't, long term or later this year or anything like that, but I wouldn't trust it. Same way I feel about Elijah Mitchell. The 49ers have been very clear that they're just not telling you the truth. They're not telling you what's really going on. You got to wait till you see it before you can trust anything coming out of San Francisco.
True.
Yep.
All right. We got to do it, boys.
Ask me the questions, Bridgekeeper. I'm not afraid.
This here's Mike's. Will it happen?
So I'll take this one, Mike. We put a lot of questions and talked a lot about Monroe's team and that high-scoring outing that he had last week. So, Mike, will the lefties score more than let's call it a modest 140 this week? And is he crossing that threshold?
It will not happen.
That was Will it happen?
All right, boys. We're bringing it back again. We did it last week. Time to do it one last time.
Shut up, baby, I know it.
Shut up, baby, I know it. Absolute guarantee.
All right, boys. I'll start us off this week since I was very unprepared last week, coming up with it on the spot. So, my shut up, baby, I know it. Absolute guarantee is that exactly 3 teams will go 2-0 after this week. So exactly 3 teams will be left at 2-0. 2 of the matchups have 2 teams at 1-0 going against each other. So I know those 2 are coming out as one of those teams is coming out at 2-0. But only one other team is winning.
Shut up, baby, I know it.
Jeff,
for it, Nick.
what do you got?
All right, I'll go. My absolute guarantee is we got a lot of Packers and Lions fans in this this matchup. So unfortunately, I'm going with Stafford will have more fantasy points than Rodgers this week.
So Stafford in
or Goff?
not Goff.
Ooh. No, Stafford.
You meant Stafford.
I messed that one up.
For the Rams.
Yep.
Shut up, baby, I know it.
Shut up, baby, I know it. It still works. Just so used to it.
We all are, baby. We all are. I miss him.
All right, Nick, you got any wrong teams to pick?
No, but my absolute guarantee is that Aaron Rodgers will score more than 32 points this week against the Lions.
Wow.
Shut up, baby, I know it.
Fantasy points, not like real life points?
Yes, fantasy points. Yes,
Fantasy points. All right. All right,
Maybe
boys.
both.
We made it through another one.
Barely, though.
Yeah, barely.
Barely.
All three of us, I think, got some tough matchups this week. So good luck to everybody in the league, unless you're playing one of us. Have a good one, everybody.
Webster's Dictionary defines radish as a swollen, pungent-tasting edible root high in potassium, which can help lower blood pressure. Or more importantly, three guys spitting nonsense and talking about fantasy football. Add salt and pepper and chomp into another episode next time. See y'all later.
Bendito, you want to say hi?